So we've looked at a lot of bad matches and even a bad pay-per-view throughout Awful Month here, but I saved the best/worst for last, because we are reviewing Heroes of Wrestling. Heroes of Wrestling, a very interesting tale. So what happens when you get a bunch of legends in the industry who are well past their prime and try to make a pay-per-view out of it for or some nostalgic thrills? Well, you get arguably one of the worst pay-per-views of all time, and arguably one of the worst buy rates of all time. Just a lot of bad stuff on this show. If you thought ECW December to Dismember was bad, that's like WrestleMania X7 compared to this. It's very, very bad stuff. So let's get right into it. So a couple preliminaries that we gotta talk about here. For starters, some replacements on the show. At one point, Too Cold Scorpio, who is on the show, was supposed to fight Reckless Youth, but because he got signed to WWE, then WWF, this takes place on October 10th of 1999. Because Reckless Youth got signed to WWF, he was replaced by Julio Fantastico, who this was the match that Too Cold Scorpio and Julio Fantastico had, was Fantastico's first match. And apparently, according to the wiki here, it allowed him to get more bookings, so that's nice, I guess. But yeah, so there's that replacement, but then also a replacement on commentary, because originally it was supposed to be Dutch Mantel and Gordon Soley, but because Soley unfortunately had throat cancer, he wasn't able to be on the show. So instead, he was replaced by Randy Rosenblum. Now, I know a lot of people complain about the commentary nowadays, especially from people like Corey Graves and Byron Saxton, but you know what? They are like JR, or good old JR Jim Ross, compared to Randy Rosenblum. Casual fans, for the people who watch reviews like this or other stuff, who are like casual fans of wrestling, don't really know a whole lot about wrestling and what's going on, I promise you, don't feel bad, because I promise you still know way more than Randy Rosenblum, who botches a lot of names and stuff, and him and Dutch Mantel, Dirty Dutch Mantel, aka Zeb Coulter, they are dreadful as a commentary duo. Randy Rosenblum, who makes a lot of botches and errors on move names and nationalities and stuff like that, but together they are dreadful. They sound bored throughout the entire show. Like they sound like they do not want to be there, probably because they don't, but even if you don't want to be there, at least pretend like you do, which we didn't really get at that, and they're even arguing at points like an old married couple who just the worst. I try my best while watching this to like tune them out, but yeah, it is really bad. And I've kind of mentioned commentary and stuff before here on the reviews. How the commentary is like bad at worst, or almost like a non-factor. Very rarely do they add like to the match, and obviously there's plenty of matches where the commentary does boost it. And a famous example is, of course, King of the Ring 1998, Undertaker versus Mankind, where Jim Ross delivered that. Speaking of Jim Ross, where he delivered that iconic line, and after Mankind was thrown off the cell, or the other famous line uttered by him and the one by Jerry Lawler when Mankind was thrown into the cell. I'm not going to try to imitate it because I know I can't do it as well as Jim Ross, but yeah, it's a very iconic call, of course. But other than that, I mentioned how commentary, like I said, is either like at most a non-factor, but in the worst case scenario, they drag the show down. And this commentary duo of Dutch Mantel and Randy Rosenblum definitely drag the show down. A lot of people already don't like Dutch Mantel / Zeb Coulter, especially because of like what he did with the Real American stuff and everything. But this is, I guess, another reason to not like Dutch Mantel. But trust me, the commentary aside, there's way worse at hand here in the show. So without further ado, I guess guess I've rambled on about it enough. I've stalled enough. Let's get right into it. Starting with the opening match. By the way, for those of you who have seen these reviews before, at least of like pay-per-views, you kind of already know how this works. But for those of you who haven't, it's not like my traditional reviews where I talk about what I like and dislike about the match. I talk about each match one by one and talk about kind of what I like and what I dislike about them. And a lot of these matches are pretty dull. But there's one or two that are true stinkers. And we have the opening match here as the Samoan SWAT team, that is Samu and the Samoan Savage, battled and defeated Marty, Janetty, and Tommy Rogers. And this one kind of dull. Well, kind of just a way to, I guess, wake the crowd up, which they kind of did at points, but otherwise not great. It's gonna go downhill from here, but yeah, and you'll notice this a lot throughout the show. A lot of these guys, it's like I said, they're legends, and well, at least some of them, or I'd even argue most of them, but they're well past their prime here, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. The Samoan Savage, that's the Tonga kid from the WWF. I didn't even recognize him. I looked here when I saw who he is on the wiki. Yeah, of course, you're able to highlight over it, and it takes you to an article showing who it is. And when I saw that was the Tonga kid, my eyes almost popped out of my skull. I'm like, that's the Tonga kid? Man, he is wow, what happened to him? But yeah, so this match, not really that interesting, but it's about to get a whole lot worse. We're starting pretty much immediately with the next match, as Greg Valentine battled and defeated the Animal George Steele. This is the shortest match of the night, and what's interesting is that George Steele was actually managed by Sensational Sherry at first, and it's supposed to be like they're a couple and everything, and they're coming out, but Sensational Sherry turns on George Steele to help Greg Valentine win, and yeah, so really not that great a match, really dull. When Brian Zane over at Wrestling with Regret, shout out to him, and Adam Blanchard reviewed that pay-per-view, which is the only reason I knew this pay-per-view existed, so thanks, Brian Zane. I low-key kind of hate you a little bit, but I think it was Adam Blanchard who mentioned it's like watching two old guys walk around trying to find where their keys are. That's literally what this match felt like watching it for the first time, like in its entirety, like actually watching it without the review and everything. That really is what it feels like. Two old guys walking around trying to find their key. He's with George Steele almost looking kind of out of it, but he'd be far from the only one tonight. But yeah, so there's that match. Next up, of course, the aforementioned Scorpio battling Julio Fantastico, also known as Julio De Niro, later on, and Scorpio actually defeating Fantastico. I'll give the match this. This match wasn't bad. Was it great? But it wasn't horrible. At least not compared to what we'll see. I think Julio, for like his first match, I think this was like one of his first matches, or one of his like earliest matches. He didn't do too bad. Scorpio did okay. Kind of with the ending there with the tumbleweed, where he completely missed Fantastico. But yeah, there's that. The match kind of and that's the thing also on the show. There is a lot of botches. That's what happens when you get people who are past their prime. Sadly, WWE, as we know, with like the Saudi shows like Crown Jewel and stuff like that, sadly didn't learn the lesson, but they definitely should have from this match, or not this match, this entire show. That is, learn their lesson from this entire show, which they did not. Next up, the Men Down Under, aka the former Bushwackers. There's Luke and Butch, which they mention almost everyone. Like, there's someone formerly known as this and this to try to avoid copyright. It's really not the greatest way to go about it. They battled and defeated the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkoff. Another kind of match. These guys, again, past their prime. Of course, Luke and Butch interacting with the audience, licking them and stuff. Typical Bushwacker stuff. But yeah, so so pretty uninteresting match. This is only about 8 minutes or so. Well, then the next up is Tully Blanchard battling and defeating Stan Lane, and this one having a little bit of story behind it because Tully Blanchard was attacked by Stan Lane before the show, and then Blanchard cut the promo and everything before that, and so then they fight here. And this match, alongside Scorpio versus Fantastico, the only other good match of the night. This one wasn't bad between these two. These two still can go pretty much, at least in the show, at least compared to everything else we've seen. But they kind of try to do the dusty finish at the end where both guys' shoulders are down, a spot they've done a lot before and since, and the commentary just, they almost don't care about it. They barely react to it. They're like, who, what happened? Did Blanchard win it? Did Tully Blanchard win it? But yeah, so Blanchard ultimately did win the match after the dusty finish. But the whole point is that the commentary is supposed to react to it when chicanery goes down, or like something like that goes down, which is a part of storyline. The commentary is supposed to help put it over, and they did not do that here. They did not care at all, which is unfortunate. But then next up is Abdullah the Butcher battling the one-man gang. What can I say about this match other than a young John Moxley was definitely taking notes from this match, and a young Hangman Adam Page suddenly got chills for no reason down his spine, because definitely a bloody match between the two, kind of that deathmatch style, which is kind of rich considering how the match ends. And so one-man gang busting Abdullah the Butcher open with the chain, and then Abdullah the Butcher opening up one-man gang with a fork, which gross. It was very, very gross. The fork stuff is always really uncomfortable. I literally had to look away for this. And sadly, I don't quite have the stomach for it. My stomach turned as well when Moxley battled Hangman Page at Revolution, and he busted out the fork. But here it was gross. All that blood and stuff, which blood is whatever for me. I'm not one of those people who's totally against deathmatch wrestling. I just don't watch it often. But yeah, it was pretty gross to see, which is funny considering this match ended in a double countout. I barely even knew the match ended, and until they started playing the music and showing the replay, I'm like, wait, the match is over? I totally missed it. But yeah, it was ended in a double countout, which, oh joy, a double countout. So the fork and the chain were fine in full view of the referee, but nope, we're gonna have the double countout ending as well, which is weird. How is it no disqualification, but also countouts are in play? Normally, if it's a no disqualification match, there's no countouts either, but here is a countout and a double countout, so oh joy. But next up was Jimmy Snuka battling Bob Orton Jr. Jimmy Snuka accompanied by Captain Lou Albano, which I didn't even talk about a lot of the managers here, but Captain Lou Albano was made the commissioner of Heroes of Wrestling, and you'll find out why. He might be like, Nigel, commissioner, what are you talking about? You're going to find out in a little bit, because I'm going to explain it to you guys. But Captain Lou Albano was with Jimmy Snuka here, and he battled Bob Orton in another pretty dull match, not really that interesting. There's a certain chant, which I'm not going to repeat here, because I don't want YouTube to come down on me for this chant, but there's a certain chant which is, wow, and he even had the kids chanting it, which, yes, there were kids in attendance, so that means not only were the kids chanting this particular chant, it starts with an F, at Bob Orton Jr., but they also witnessed all that blood between Abdullah the Butcher and One Man Gang. Yay! But and I know sometimes some kids have seen worse, but it just, wow, crazy thing about it. Yeah, so Snuka defeated Bob Orton Jr. here, or apparently it started at a card game. We saw backstage Visionette had showing a card game. That was kind of the basis for this match. there's that. I kind of skipped some of them, but some of them I did have to watch so I could see how I can get some context behind what's going on. But yeah, so there's that. But now it's time for not just the main event of the show, but the moment I'm sure all of you have been anxiously and patiently waiting for, and that is what's supposed to be Jim Neidhart battling Jake Roberts. But Jake Roberts is drunk. Oh joy! Jake Roberts shows up inebriated, and you can tell he is out of it just from the pre-match promo. It's the infamous promo. I'm sure you got to see the whole "You Want to Play 21" promo that's been repeated, that lives on in Botchamania history and or infamy. The classic "You Want to Play 21" promo here. We even have a snippet of it here, where it says, "You don't want to play cards with me because I'll cheat, okay? I cheat. You want to play 21? I've got 22. You want to play blackjack? I've got 2 of those too. You want to play aces and eights, baby? I got too many of those too." And the way Jake Roberts delivers it, you can tell something is definitely amiss. But surprisingly, first of all, throughout Awful Month, the stuff I reviewed here on the channel, well, it's not the first time that someone showed up clearly not in the best state to wrestle, which technically I know this in timeline, historical timeline, happens before what happens with Jeff Hardy at Victory Road 2011, which if you haven't already, go check out that review. But I know that happened, but it's still weird that it's 2 match / pay-per-views in a row where someone showed up inebriated. And if I had a nickel for every match I reviewed where in the main event someone showed up inebriated, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that's happened twice. For those of you who get that, but yeah, so Roberts is out of it. Jake Roberts is out of it. He shows up staggering to the ring. He's got the snake in the bag and everything. Leaves the snake there, then runs to the back. And the commentary, they try to play it off as like, oh, it's a psychological ploy. Sure it is, but then Roberts comes back. Has a female fan grope him. He grabs her hands and puts it on his chest. So, oh yay! Then the match is underway. Between Neidhart and Roberts. Roberts clearly out of it to the point where Neidhart has to try to work around him. But then, and it just gets better because Roberts pulls out the snake and starts. I'm gonna give you a little bit of hint. Yeah, he does that with the snake, and then the camera has to try to cut to the crowd to get away from what Roberts is doing with the snake. And then he lays in the ring and like licking the snake and everything, snake on top of him, and poor snake. I feel bad for him. So they now have to call an audible. So what happens is the main event is supposed to be King Kong Bundy versus Yokozuna, but King Kong Bundy first he comes out in the middle of the Neidhart Roberts match. Of course, at this point Neidhart flees the ring, but then comes back in. They resume the match. So Bundy comes out, then Yokozuna comes out, and then both start getting involved in the match and everything. And then now it's billed as a tag team match. Bill Stone, who's the promoter of this event and who's got to be very, very upset by now, sends a member of the production crew who's named Michael Henry. He sounds like Mike Henry, the guy who voiced Cleveland Brown. I don't know, former voice of Cleveland Brown and a lot of other characters on Family Guy, but essentially calling it audible, trying to duct tape everything, keep it from falling apart. It's a little too late for that. So Neidhart and Bundy battling Roberts and Yokozuna. All 3 guys trying to work around Roberts. Eventually, Bundy squashes Roberts for the pin. Neither of them were the legal man, but who cares? Let's just get out of there. Then Henry gets beat up a little bit. Henry also tries to do some interference, and they kind of try to play it off by having like Henry be like the heel and everything, have Yokozuna and Roberts attack him, but Roberts missed the cue because he's obviously out of it, trying to salvage that, so they can't even go with that angle. So it's just a mess of a main event. I'd argue that this is way worse than what happened with Jeff Hardy. At least with that one, and maybe they learned from this event when it happened, but at least with that one, it was a squash match. Sting like quickly pinned down Jeff Hardy, and they got out of there quickly. But here no such luck. This is the longest match of the night, 16 minutes and 34 seconds. And so for 16 minutes, this plays out. Oh, no. Like, it should have just been a squash, and then you get out of there. Or you could probably even still have Yokozuna and Bundy come out. And the reason I say it's the main event, because, like I said, both matches ended up being combined, so they don't have the main event. But, yeah, so... this should have been just like a squash, and then everybody get out of there before things get worse. Thank God Roberts is no longer like this, because this is embarrassing. This is sad to watch. Now, obviously, because he was before my time, I'm not someone who grew up watching Jake Roberts and everything, and I didn't really get into Jake Roberts till much later in life. But to see this here, this is sad. This is embarrassing, and thank God he turned his life around. Shout out to DDP Yoga for helping Jake Roberts turn his life around and put all this in the past behind them. But sadly, this is still here, and this is what ends off this pay-per-view. And it got a whole lot worse, because apparently if the wiki man, I cannot speak. If the wiki is to be believed, Roberts began to disrobe, meaning take his clothes off in the middle of the ring, and then the feed was cut right after, which, wow, that's something. But like I said, thank God Roberts able to turn his life around, able to beat his addiction, hoping the same for Jeff Hardy, of course, down the line. Jeff able to beat his addiction. But now for the interesting part of this. This wasn't supposed to be a one-time pay-per-view. Sadly, the low buy rate and everything else that happened on the card made this a one-time. But no, Heroes of Wrestling was supposed to go on tour. I think it was supposed to be like a full-blown promotion and everything. But I think because the low buy rate and what happened on the show, ultimately that idea was axed. So I just have the one and only show, which I guess a blessing in disguise, because I can't imagine having stuff like this is several times on a tour and everything. So we just have the Heroes of Wrestling show, which will live in wrestling infamy. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. If I had to pick a best and worst match of the night, I might have to go with Scorpio versus Fantastico and Tully Blanchard versus Stan Lane. And if I had to pick a worst match, take a wild guess. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this event and my analysis of this event if you have seen it. If you haven't seen this event, I definitely don't recommend watching this. There isn't even a match that I would say watch from this. I would say steer clear of this whole event, because this event was this is rough. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.